Taoiseach, in the last 2 hours, the online news publication The Ditch have revealed further controversy surrounding your failing defective block scheme. It has emerged that in more than 20 cases, Donegal County Council operated a portal had altered the recommendations of the homeowners' engineers. What I find interesting, or perhaps more appropriately described as disturbing, is that in each case the alteration which Donegal County Council claim as a minor technical glitch resulted in the original engineering recommendation aligning with a downgraded option recommended by the Housing Agency appointed engineers' desktop appraisals. It would be naive in my mind to attribute this to a mere coincidence. When you add this to the statements from Engineers Ireland at the Oireachtas Committee on Finance, Public Expenditure and Reform and Taoiseach on the issue of IS 465 earlier this year, where they stated that it is the view of many engineers that the existing standard is no longer fit for purpose, where the mechanism of deterioration remains uncertain and developments in the scientific understanding of this issue must be appropriately considered. Further, they said, a survey conducted in March 2024 of members of Engineers Ireland's IS 465 register has shown that 75% of engineers employed by homeowners have experienced having a recommendation for option 1 revised to another option by a framework engineer employed by the Housing Agency with respect to the same property. You can see why this is leading to frustration among residents in County Donegal, who have had to engage with the scheme despite its many other flaws. I won't list them here again in the record, Taoiseach, if you promise to reciprocate as well. And not to recite again the standard reply so often delivered unthinkingly without reference to the particular question by your predecessors in that seat and by the Minister since the announcement of the so-called enhanced scheme. We know that the science now confirms the primary problem is internal sulphate attack. Yet 3 years on from the trumpeted scheme announcement, we don't have a date for the review of IS 465. These instances, together with a litany of others, such as a lack of proper engagement with homeowners' representatives on the unresolved issue of mortgageability, have contributed to confidence being undermined in the whole scheme in the eyes of those affected homeowners. Taoiseach, can you acknowledge that you are hearing the frustrations of my constituents in Donegal and accept that confidence has been eroded to a significant extent? And from that, will you commit to giving a definitive date when a revised or replaced IS 465 will be published so that it can have some clarity in the future?
Deputy Pringle, Taoiseach.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Thanks to Deputy Pringle for raising this matter. Yes, I do acknowledge that I hear the frustration of your constituents as articulated by you, and you've made specific reference to claims or information in relation to Donegal County Council, which I've yet to see, but which I certainly will ask the Minister for Housing to pursue with the local authority and to revert to you directly on, because I would like clarity in relation to that matter that you've just raised myself. You've specifically raised the issue of IS 465. As you know, the NSAI is Ireland's official standards body. It is, of course, an autonomous body under the responsibility of the Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment. My understanding is the NSAI have recently, I think on the 13th of September, provided an update on the status of the review of IS 465. The review will initially take the form of an extensive amendment to the testing protocol. I'm informed that the drafting of this amendment is nearing conclusion. The NSAI TC 63 have considered the interim output from the Geological Survey of Ireland managed research regarding internal sulphate attack and testing to identify that as well, and other highly reactive forms of iron sulphide. These will be included in the amended IS 465. Changes will also include updates to the building condition assessment and sampling protocols, taking account of the information currently available, including the learnings from the application of the current standard. The amendment will then be published by the NSAI for a period of public engagement, and stakeholders will be able to engage with this process using the Your Standards, Your Say platform, which can be assessed via the NSAI website. All comments in relation to these protocols received during the consultation will then be fed in by the technical committee as part of its final recommendation. I'll specifically see if I can find a more precise timeline for you, but that's the update that I have today. I'll also put it in writing to you because I'm conscious there's quite a lot of technical information. What they're telling me here is that the current drafting process for the amendment has been progressing well, with substantial commitment and input from the voluntary members. I thank them for that. Every effort has been made to complete committee deliberations and produce a public consultation draft amendment for Q3. of this year. However, it's now expected that the draft amendment will be published by the NSAI in Q4 for public consultation. Following the publication of any revised standards, the DCB grant scheme will be reviewed at that point in the event of such amendments being required. The Government also made a number of other amendments today which you may be aware of, and I'm happy to come back to in my further reply.
You outlined the process where the IAS 465 is going to be amended, and it's no doubt it's going to be extremely slow. And already, even in your response there, you outlined that they advised that it would be published in Q3, but now it's Q4. So who's to say it's going to be Q1 or Q2 of next year as well? So that means that homeowners are going to be suffering under this existing scheme for a long time in the foreseeable future. So we've no clarity on actually when this is actually going to happen. And then in the meantime, then we have Donegal County Council have altered the results that have come through from the housing agency on the website as well, which isn't on, and that shouldn't be happening. And this is further undermining people's confidence in this whole scheme that you've put in. And we've also seen over the last couple of months as well, where the Attorney General has written to the Minister for Housing advising him that the purpose of the scheme was to save the state money, rather than deal with the defective blocks and the defective households. And that seems to be the purpose of this whole thing, is to save the state money, where it is the state that has caused this problem in the first place. The state, by its lax oversight of the building and construction industry, actually caused this problem by allowing defective blocks to go into the process. So the state needs to step up, and it needs to step up quickly. And Taoiseach, I would urge you to ensure that the amendments will be put through quickly and straight away, rather than waiting for months and months and months again.
Thank you.
Well, look, in relation to Donegal County Council and the issue specifically raised that has just, I think, come into the public domain, I will ask the Minister to revert to you and to engage with the local authority. I take the point about not wishing to see any further slippage and the importance of adhering to timelines, and I'll certainly keep a very close eye on that. Look, I do think we have to have a bit of balance in relation to this. I can only imagine the frustration, the stress, the sheer trauma that people must be living with if their own home is crumbling in front of their eyes, the concerns you'd have for your children, your parents, the well-being of your family. I get that. But I do think it's important to acknowledge that the state has put in place a massive level of financial resource to try and respond to this. And we are in real time continuing to engage and make improvements where we can. So, for example, you raised the issue of childcare previously. I gave you the position of the government in relation to line departments trying to respond to that. And even today, for example, Minister O'Brien brought a memo to Government to increase the current scheme cap for remediation options and for ancillary grants by the maximum allowed. And the memo also requested an increase in the grant rates under the scheme. Extending these increases to wider groups of relevant owners does require amending the 2022 Act, and the Minister will bring a separate proposal to Government to give effect to this policy intention so that the increases can apply retrospectively. So even today, we're seeing more proposals at Government to try and make further improvements to respond to the issues we're hearing from people in your own constituency.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Now,